Ladies and gentlemen, okay, we're about to start the podcast. I got to put my radio voice on. So today in the house, we got Mr. Justin Housey, Allied Trucking. They're a logistics company out of Dorval. I've been trying to get Justin on the podcast for a while now. We've been back and forth. He's a tough guy to get in touch with. But in all defense, I had a little conflict in my schedule as well. But we finally came to this. We had a whole day planned out. We were supposed to go for lunch after, go play golf after, and then Housey calls me, goes, hey man, there's a golf tournament that day. I'm like, oh fuck, you're right. We can't do that. But thank you so much for coming to the podcast. I
appreciate you having me.
And thanks. It's nice for you to be here.
Absolutely.
What do you think of the office?
It's amazing.
Yeah?
I love your golf simulator.
So you're literally next door.
Right next door. 1405.
Did you walk over or did you drive?
Drive.
Oh my God. How long was that drive? 10 seconds?
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Right out of the parking lot into the other one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How are things going for you over at the company?
It's going well. It's going well, man. We were growing. Then during COVID.
Sorry, Housey. Before that, let's get into tell us exactly what you do. Let's start with that.
So what we do is when we started, we were a pure broker, and then a
logistics broker.
Okay. So meaning we didn't have assets. The total cost to run the company were salaries, office space. Now what we do have, we have owner operators who own their own trucks as well, who work specifically for our company. So they will go anywhere within North America. And we will move any type of freight. So we move raw meat. We move for the Trans-Canada pipeline, piping. We move beverages. So we do a wide range of commodities, I would say.
Yeah.
As well as non-commodities where you can make a bit more money, obviously. And, we started very slowly, and we've kind of grown to what we are today, which is nice.
How many employees do you have now?
Right now we're at about 19.
And you started Allied Trucking 4 years ago?
Yeah, 2018.
Okay.
So we have a partner in Monship. I think obviously you know Scott.
Yeah.
And it's a good synergy because they do ocean shipping.
Yeah.
And they were never doing over the road. And now, we have a complete, when a customer comes to us, we could offer them every type of service over the road. We do customs brokerage. We do over the ocean. So it's kind of, we're trying to make it like a one-stop shop, I would say.
How did it get started with Monship? So, or even better, let's back up a little bit. How did you actually get started with Allied Trucking? Why did you want to start the company?
Right.
You were working in the industry already before that.
Correct.
So tell us that story.
So what happened is I was 17. I wasn't really going to school. And what happened was...
School wasn't your thing.
School wasn't my thing. So what happened was I got a job at a company down here on the service road called Mantab. And I was selling dry grocery. And so one of my biggest customers in Montreal was also a transport company's very big customer, and they would put on an annual golf tournament. And I met the owner of this company, and he was like, you should come to transport. It's cool. And back then I had no idea what transport meant, So I would just see this person once a year. It was like 3 years in a row. And finally, I went to go see him at his office, and it was like pretty cool. It was hustle and bustle. People were on the phone. It was loud. It was nice, And
boiler room style.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, it seemed like it would be really fun to do, and so I leaped into that. And then I was in sales, and
for this transport company.
This transport company. Yeah. So I left. I must have been 21. I left the food industry, went into transport, and then I was doing sales for this transport company, and I was doing really well. And I was dating someone that we both, that you know, obviously, Hannah. And we got married. I was 28. And again, I was doing very well in sales. And I said, why don't I take a shot and just open up my own thing? And, you know, you're like, oh, be your own boss. It's cool, you know? And so she's like, okay, why don't you make a business plan and show it to my father, and like, we'll see what he says. And so I did that. And originally, my father-in-law was going to be a 10% minority stakeholder in our business. And I was going to obviously be 90%. But Scott, my partner now, is very good friends with my father-in-law. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is Scott was visiting my father-in-law in Florida. Mm-hmm. And he told him that, you know, we're going to open up this truck brokerage. And Scott had said, well, why don't you wait? You know, we've always looked into getting into truck brokerage, over the road transport, and maybe we could work something out.
And so this is like a very strategic event, it sounds like. What was Monship doing before? So they were not doing trucking.
So they were not doing trucking.
But they did a lot of other things. And what were those operations?
So they, their main operation is they do over the ocean shipping.
Okay.
That's the main operation. They don't own their own vessels. So what they do is they pretty much represent shipping lines. One of their biggest shipping line is a shipping line out of Hamburg, and it's called Hamburg Sud. They own a reefer repair. They own shipping container yards, just, you know, to store your containers, things like that. So they've been around for 96 years. And
Monship or the Hamburg company?
Monship's
been around for 96 years. Okay.
So I think in 2026 it's going to be 100 years.
Wow.
Yeah. 100 years of business.
And yes. Scott is the president of Monship.
Scott is the president.
Ooh,
yeah. So it's, you know, and it's good that he is president, because he understands what we're trying to do, and he really supports us in that way. So that's what happened. I met with Scott pretty much, I would say, 5 years ago. And that's how we hit it off. It was like, okay, you know, let's try and work something out. We did work something out, and the rest is history.
So basically, your father-in-law has a bit of equity in Allied Trucking.
Not anymore.
Oh, he doesn't?
Yeah, now it's
Did he cash out? Or like he never got in the first place?
He never got in. He never got in.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he never got in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so basically, Monship came up and said, hey, so we already do this. What you guys are, what Allied Trucking wants to do is going to complement our already existing business.
Absolutely.
We'd like to take an equity stake in your business. Sure. We'll finance you guys.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
So they gave you the cash to start the business.
Correct. Yeah.
How capital intensive was it at the beginning to start the business? Because you mentioned earlier the big overhead costs were by far, number one was by far the salaries for the employees.
100%, yeah.
Like what else was expensive for that at the beginning?
You want to know what? It actually isn't, there's not that much of a cost to start, because what you really need is a telephone, a couple of computer screens. And you know what? As an entrepreneur, you get to that point where you start your business, but now you're sitting in an office and you have nothing. You don't have a customer. You don't have a sale. You're like, what am I doing? You know? So, and that's really when you have to strap your boots up and like get going. You know what I mean? It's nice to say, you know, you started a business, but if you don't have any revenue and you don't have any customers, what is it? You know?
What was the feeling when you started, in the sense that, because when you start a company and you have zero clients, it's kind of the same thing. I didn't have that feeling here at KBD because I didn't start the company. Right. But in Ontario, when we started, I did and still do have that feeling like, yo, we don't have any clients. We got to go out there and there's a certain amount of desperation that kind of comes along with that, and going, okay, I've already sunk in all these costs and stuff like that. I want to make sure that this doesn't fail. What was the feeling for you when you started, the mentality when you were starting Allied Trucking?
So I feel the mentality is still the same today. You know, someone once told me, if you're happy with what you have is kind of the day you start dying. Yeah. So, you know, it was just me. I was in an office, started calling people because I also had a non-compete from my previous job, so I couldn't go after customers that I had there. So that was a bit difficult, but you know what? It's the same thing. It's a numbers game. You know, you gotta get in front of as many people's faces. You gotta call as many people as you can. And today, even more so because as you grow, expenses grow, everything grows. You know what I mean? And people, me and you have spoken about this prior, is that today I feel like I'm cut from an old school cloth.
Yeah.
And,
I like to think, I hope I am too.
I feel from our conversations you are. But, it's just like you have to keep going. And, when people tell you no, it's okay. That person's no, but let's call another 25 people. And, you're going to get a yes. Someone's going to give you an opportunity. And what I tell a lot of our sales reps is that, you're young. People may want to give you an opportunity because you're young. You know what I mean? So it's a numbers game right now. How many doors could you knock on? And, maybe the majority are going to tell you no, but that one account that tells you, yeah, you could grow into, a great account for yourself.
Yeah. The sales are, really good salespeople. If you think about it, looking at the amount of calls you actually make, a really good salesperson is going to close what? Cold calling is basically 2%. If you're good, it's a 2% closing ratio. 50%, you never even get in touch with them. So I'm counting like every record that you're going to call. So absolutely. 50%, you can't even talk to them. But hey, you're still calling them, making the calls. And then out of the people you actually speak to, a pile of them are going to say, fuck off right away. A pile of them are going to go, they're going to dick you around. Yeah, I'm interested. Call me back. And they're never going to actually move forward with anything. And then you get a couple that are actually interested and you're right. It becomes a numbers game, and but you get better at identifying the prospects that are actually not dicking you around and are actually interested or need to use your product or service.
And so probably the same in your industry. A lot of the times what happens is that potential client's going to give you an opportunity.
Yes.
You'll give them pricing, but they'll take your pricing and go back to the person that they've been using and say, hey, this is what I'm getting. Could you match it? You know what I mean? So it's tough. But again, I think in our industry, you also building a relationship with that person is just as important as, I guess in sales, you got to be kind of a pain. And I think building a relationship with that person, having them call you or text message you, WhatsApp you, it's important to them because what I also say is these people, it's a job for them. They're not transport professionals. You're supposed to be the professional, guide them, help them. You know what I mean? And so when you do those things for them, you build their trust, and that's kind of like the foundation of that relationship for that account. You know what I mean?
What is your typical client? Like, what does it look like?
So depending, we do a lot with freight forwarders, and a freight forwarder is somebody who, again, is a one-stop shop, but they have offices everywhere. They have sales reps everywhere. So you're quoting on, say, 1,000 customers just from this one account, And so there's a lot of different offices, and we have direct manufacturers. We have, again, what I was talking about, meat. So we import, or we do a lot of export for meats going down to Mexico. There's a lot of people here in Montreal that buy and sell meat into Mexico. It's a huge market.
Really?
Very big. And so we do a lot of that, a lot of beverages across Canada. And those are, what I say is some of those customers are pillars for our company. They've been with us since day one. And then, customers like Rona is just, it's a great customer to have. You know what I mean? It's, when you have customers that are bringing you freight every day,
you want to keep them happy.
You want to keep them happy, man. It's that's what it is. That's the business. And then you also, the smaller mom and pop places too, though, they're great customers to have. And it's, we try and treat, I guess the same for you is you try and treat everybody the same,
as much as possible.
And that's what it is.
And there's pros and cons to having really big clients and then the smaller size clients. The smaller size clients, the reality of running a business is you can't keep every single client forever. That's just not realistic.
In our industry, very much so, actually.
And in most industries, right? And so I was speaking about this with Pat McGuigan the other day, and he had a really big client, and he ended up losing this client. And he goes, on the one side, it sucks because monetarily this is a big hit for my company. When it represents like a big percentage of revenue for the company, he goes, that part sucks. But on the other side of it, it's actually it's like, oh my God, it's like the pressure has been lifted, because when you have clients like that, they're very demanding, as they should be, because they're paying a lot of money. But it's stressful.
It is, and I think that sweet spot is that medium-sized customer.
I would agree.
You know,
I feel the same way about our business as well.
It really is, and I think, again, you know, just going back to Pat's case, is that I'd rather, in terms of like having sales reps, for me, I'd rather have 10 sales reps do, say, $20,000 a month in profit than have one sales rep that does 200,000 or 150,000. You know what I mean? So you try not to place all your eggs in one basket all the time. And I think that medium-sized business is fantastic.
And your projections, it's much easier to make projections, just because of the fact that, you know, everything's just more consistent. And if you do end up losing the client, of course, it sucks. You don't want to lose the client.
No, absolutely.
But you're not going, okay, well, like, you're not going, holy shit, I
what
can't
am I
afford my
gonna do
mortgage
right
this
now?
month
Exactly.
anymore.
You know,
like
and people do go through that. And I've seen a lot of people go through that when they're selling to customers like a Walmart or like a Costco. You know, you've now quadrupled the size of your business. You have this contract. You move into a big building. You're getting more manufacturing things, and then, okay, we're good now. We don't need you. And then, what do? You know what I mean? So it's you don't want to replicate that kind of business.
And that's what a lot of people that deal with Walmart or an Amazon, Walmart I've heard is pretty notorious for this, but like their for example, their payment terms, I think they pay you after 90 days. Yeah. All the other companies are like 60. And they basically, so if you're logistically or the mechanics of your business, if you're not set up to, if you get a big order from Walmart, you obviously want to fulfill that order.
Correct.
And sometimes they'll have to put a lot of capital expenditures into the business in order to fulfill that order.
Correct.
And then, you know, they fulfill it once, or sometimes they don't fulfill it, and then they never get the order again. They're like, holy crap, I just spent all this money. It's a very high risk, high reward play.
Absolutely. And I think just hitting on that Walmart thing is that, you know, I used to deliver to Walmarts, but the penalties are so astronomical if you're not hitting appointment times and stuff like that. For my particular business, it's just not worth it going to a Walmart.
So who goes to them?
So there's people that go. There's obviously a lot of people that go there, course, right? Yeah. They're huge. I guess, but like you said, you know, they give you the terms and you play within those terms, and if you don't, then they don't need you, or they don't want you.
Would it be like let's say a multinational trucking company that would deal with Walmart? So if Walmart came up with these terms, they'd basically go screw yourself for not using those terms. That's probably what ends up happening.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. So like bigger customers and or bigger carriers. But I mean, I'm sure at the end of the day, you check your books, and you know there's fees that Walmart will give you that they'll pay just to be a like primary service provider for Walmart. You know what I mean?
Huh. So right now you're 19 employees.
Yeah.
And of the 19, so give us the structure at Allied Trucking. What's the structure of this 19? You got how many sales? How many?
So the biggest portion of our business is operations.
Okay.
People who will dispatch orders, customer service representatives, following up on orders, you know, making sure carriers are where they're supposed to be on time. And then
when you say carriers, that's the actual trucks, the companies that
exactly. Okay. We also accounting team's pretty big.
Accounts receivable.
I'll
ask you that after. Yeah. What's that like in your industry?
We have a few salespeople. We're opening up an office in Toronto.
Nice.
How's
that going?
You know what? It's going okay because Monship has an office there already.
Yeah.
So as we grow, we'll grow into that office, which is great. So we have an office space there. But again, it's not as, people, when you're hiring for transport, it's not like you're living downtown Toronto. You know, you're in the boroughs, you're in Scarborough, you're in Etobicoke, you're in Mississauga, because that's where the businesses are, most of them. You know what I mean? And so it's not, as luxurious as you think it may be, but it's still, it's a big expense. And we actually have one of our sales reps from Montreal will be heading up our sales team in Toronto August 1st. So that's exciting. And, to grow your business, I feel like you need feet on the ground, man.
Could not agree more.
Yeah.
You need boots on the ground. And I thought when we were going into Ottawa, I actually dipped my foot in the water years ago.
Yeah.
Because we have to go through all this licensing and permits and blah, blah. It takes forever.
Right.
It's ridiculous, but that's the way it is. And I dipped my foot in the water about 5 or 6 years ago doing Ontario, but from here in Montreal. Right. I was doing it personally.
Okay.
This is going to be English. This is going to be easy. Everyone speaks English. Everyone speaks. I'm like, this could be a piece of cake. And dude, the fact that I was not there, people, the locals in Ontario are like, who are you?
Right.
Like, well, I'm this. I'm in Montreal. It doesn't make a difference. Hold on. Why are you in Montreal?
Right.
Like, I'm in Ottawa.
Right.
Sir, it does make a difference, but it
mentally
doesn't come across
No,
like
exactly.
that.
So, we do have some customers in Toronto, but I think that market's much bigger than Montreal's. And,
I would agree.
And, and I think, again, like we said, you need boots on the ground. You need people in their faces. And I think that's how you grow. I think my industry is very old school still, and I think, getting in front of people's faces is really the main way of closing deals.
What industry would you say it's not the main way of closing deals, to actually get in front of people? Not many.
Not many. I mean,
outside of tech?
I mean, really, it's really that tech bubble. But I feel like, people think that's the way it is because tech is so big and relevant right now that people only see that. And I think people feel like, oh, well, if they could do it, I could do it, But I think in our businesses, I think it's very important to have boots on the ground, to be in people's faces. I think that's the way I've done it my whole life, and it's worked. And it's worked.
Yeah.
And people have done it, and they've been extremely successful too. So, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
So you've had a lot of success, obviously. Congrats on
Thank you.
that. I always enjoy talking to you. This is literally the cool thing about this. This is like just a lunch.
Yeah,
that's why when we were going to have our lunch after, I'm like, well, what are we going to talk about lunch? Because we're literally going to talk about it on the podcast. But you've had a lot of successes. What hasn't gone according to plan when you're trying to expand Allied Trucking? Because you are trying to expand the business. 100%. You're trying to get bigger.
Yep. What are some? So we've actually tried to open up a Toronto office a few years ago, and when the owners aren't going to be there or stakeholders aren't going to be there, I think when you hire somebody who you don't really know and you don't really trust, it's hard. We've hired people there before; it just hasn't worked out. This time we're taking somebody who's been with me for 4 years who we do trust to grow the business. So hopefully that will, be the key for us opening up Toronto. And again, I for my particular business, I know a lot of people say, don't hire people, don't hire friends. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And when it doesn't work out, it's obviously not a great feeling.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
But today, out of the 19 people that we have, I think, I've known probably about 15 of them prior to even like starting this. And I feel those employees have been real pillars for the company, people that you could lean on, you know what I mean? Because when you are growing, it's hard. You can't do everything by yourself.
Nope.
It's impossible. And I don't like micromanaging people. Obviously for sales, you see the numbers. If you're hitting your targets and your budget's good, if you're not, well, what are you doing? I have a key person in operations who oversees all of that. Somebody that I could rely on, somebody who's very enthusiastic about the industry, who loves it, puts in more hours than he probably should. But those people get rewarded at the end of the day. And so for me, and growing Allied, it's really been people that I trust, people that I've known, And there are few people in my office who I haven't known and who have worked out really well too. And sometimes the hiring process is a bit difficult, and you hire duds. So, but yeah, it is what it is.
And for this person that's gonna run the office in Toronto, did you give them what on top of a regular salary, for example? Right. Did you give them like specific bonuses? Did you give them a stake in the business? Did you give them phantom shares? Did you give them?
Right. So right now, it's still kind of open-ended. It's coming soon. August 1st is coming soon. It's still open-ended. Obviously, we're thinking we may obviously give him a bump in his base salary.
Yeah.
So the reason why not phantom shares and why not a stake is I truly feel that our Montreal operations will always be kind of the center specifically for operations. So this person's going to go do sales. He's going to grow the business there for sales. And if need be, I always think that we're going to just grow our Montreal office in terms of operations. So everything will come back there, because for operations, it doesn't matter. You don't need to be in Toronto. I think for him to grow a sales team, usually what happens in our industry is one person will go. Yeah. You'll grow the sales. Now, if we hire more sales reps and you become a sales manager, maybe you'll make a cut off of everybody else's sales. But the operations will always stay in Montreal. Sales, we'll open up offices for different salespeople. You know what I mean? Do
most of your competitors do the same thing? So they'll have like a hub for where the operations are run out of, and then they'll have the sales offices across the country or different. That's
but there are, so the biggest freight companies in North America are brokers. And those people, they're doing billions of dollars, especially in the US. And you know what? When you get to that point, I think it does make sense to have a whole team, a whole nother operation. And people, even from our golf course who are in the same industry, who have grown, who have been in business for 20, 25 years, they do have a whole operation, like a whole other office in different cities. And, if we could get there, great, and, we strive to do that. You don't know what's going to happen in the future, but, we strive to do that. But for right now, like that's the plan. We'll keep operations here. You go sell. We'll take care of all your book of business.
What's your longer term vision for the company?
You know what?
Like, do you want to expand services, or do you want to just like keep doubling down on what it is that you guys are good at now, and then maybe in 5 years like to expand services? No, that's not where the money is. You want to like what's the?
So I think for right now we're doubling down, and I think for the foreseeable future we're gonna keep doubling down, because we. As time has gone on, you realize kind of what your strengths are, and you want to keep tapping into those strengths. But you know what? Being able to offer different services within your industry is obviously something that we want to be able to provide. It's just, when are we going to be able to provide those solutions for our customers? But, again, it's...
And what different services would that be?
I mean, air freight. Air freight.
Does Montship do air freight?
No,
they do not.
No, but they actually just acquired a company who does do air freight, and you're talking to them. You're talking about margins. You're like, how is that possible? He's shipping a box and he's paying X amount of dollars. There's big money in air freight, and that's something that I would like to see us get into, but as of right now, we don't have a professional, who's done it before. So, let's continue doing what we're doing and what we do well. And then hopefully eventually, when the time comes, we'll hire somebody has like a proven track record or who's done it before, and maybe get into that. Ocean shipping is not for me. I don't like it.
It's not your cup of tea.
It's not my cup of tea. It's and I think there are a lot of people who are already in that market. So is mine, obviously. But I just don't know enough about it to kind of get into it. I enjoy what we do. I think, it's quite simple. What we do, you're going to a business, they're shipping, whatever, cups,
Meat.
shipping meat. All right, we're picking it up in Montreal. It's going to California. Great.
Do it for me.
Do it for me. Hey, this is the price. Great. Pick it up on Friday. Awesome. You go pick it up, deliver it. Transaction's done. You know what I mean? So our business is very transactional.
So it looks on the surface pretty simple, but can you talk to us about the actual mechanics behind the scenes of when you're delivering, let's take that example, meat from point A to point B. Let's say, for example, it has to go through borders. What's the value add that Allied Trucking brings to the table?
So something, when you're shipping meat, obviously it has to go through inspection. You have to go through borders. And, if there's documentation that's not right when you're at the border, especially with meat, you're shipping those in reefer vans. Okay, so
they're refrigerated.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's happened before where, the border agent's not letting you through. Something's not right on your paperwork. Weight could be off or, and so a value add that we do bring is, okay, we're going to let our customer know what's going on, but we're going to fix your problem. If we need you, we'll reach out to you. If it's something that, you need to provide us with. But I mean, there's been times we've had employees drive to the border to make sure to go get a stamp on paperwork.
Really?
Yeah. One of our biggest customers, we ship pet food, pet gear, going down to Vermont. And, every order, so say you're doing about 45, 50 orders a month, we're going to the border. We're getting our paper stamp. We're going downtown, so we're just providing service. We want our customer to be able, my main line is sleep at night. Hey, you give us the order, don't worry, we're going to take care of it. If there is an issue, I think in our industry, being proactive is something that you don't often see. You see a lot of companies being reactive and having your customer reach out to you. Hey, why is this happening? And then you're giving an explanation where, our team, we try and let our customers know prior to them coming to us, hey, this is what's happening. This is our solution. Once it's done, we'll let you know. And, prior to coming on, you were talking about Uber.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people asking about self-driving trucks.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So,
because there's a lot of things, just to add some context to that. Uber right now, everyone knows what Uber does. They have Uber Eats, they have the Uber taxi, whatever you want to call it. And then there's a small portion of it for transport or logistics. I'm not sure exactly what they refer to it as, but I know that they're trying to get into that space. It's still in terms of percentage for their overall revenue, it's pretty small compared to the other stuff, but they're still there. So I'll let you take it from here. So
I have to say that I haven't ran into any of our accounts that use Uber. Look, I think it's a big enough space for somebody like Uber. I don't think a lot of people will deal with Uber. And look, like I told you, I'm not really up to speed on it. I don't know if they're doing parcel deliveries to people's homes, stuff like that. But what I would say for, highway trucks, over the road, cross-border, I think it's difficult. You need, when you own a fleet of trucks, Uber obviously has money to see this through. It's not all, the grass isn't greener. You know what I mean? It's sometimes, I think because they have a name, I think they're going to charge more. I think, and when you have such a large operation, you need to be able to charge your customers. And I think our industry is so competitive. And I think in a lot of markets, pricing is kind of solidified, like Montreal to Texas, everybody's around the same price. It's what kind of relationship you have with your customer. Montreal to California, Montreal to Florida. So I think, anywhere in Canada to these destinations. So I think it's not going to grow as quickly as, say, an Uber Eats. But it could work out for them, and
I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Sure.
So if I just heard the Elon Musk interview, he had a recent one on CNBC the other day. I love Elon Musk. So he said that the question was with regards to open AI and the AI that's all going on, and he goes, Tesla's gonna have a similar moment pretty soon, and the person conducting the interview goes, okay, how so? Well, he's like, we're going to have, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million cars that are going to be all driving autonomously. They're like 99% of the way there, or 98.5. And it's very
close,
difficult to get to the end where the car, there's little decisions the brain of the car needs to make.
Yeah.
And they're not there yet. But so to play devil's advocate for Uber, I feel like if Tesla's almost there, that means that they're the leader in this space in terms of autonomous driving, but Uber is not that far behind.
Correct.
So if Uber gets there, let's say they get to that 100% mark or 99.9% mark within 5 years, wouldn't they? I think it's very difficult to drive around here, especially in the winter, because the computer can't see the lanes. But let's say it's just straight highway for 1,000 miles. I mean, why can't the computer do that? You know what I mean? I feel like that's when it's going to start kicking in, and it's going to be good for the consumer, in my opinion, because obviously that's going to drive the cost down. It's going to be less expensive because you're not going to need an actual driver to drive the trucks. What do you have to say about that? Or do I not know what the hell I'm talking about?
I was dying for you to ask me this question. So, I think a straight drive cross country, not cross border.
Yeah.
The reason being not cross border is because there are, in our industry, we also ship less than truckloads. So you say, hey, Justin, I have a skid of T-shirts I need you to pick up in Toronto going to California. Great. But in that truck, there's going to be 24 other pallets of somebody else's freight. So when you don't have a driver and you get to a border and there's something wrong, what do? Is the border agent going to have to get into your truck?
That's not going to happen.
They're not budging. So, I think like you said, nice weather. You want to drive from, I don't know,
California to Texas or
California
something.
to Texas.
Yeah.
It's like you said, a few or 1,000 miles or whatever it may be, maybe it'll work. But there are a lot of things that could go wrong on a truck. So daily we see, truckers, the truck breaking down, tires, it's still a moving object that needs to be, for people, like, you need to update your truck. You need new tires. You need oil changes. You need all this stuff. So, like, how do you make sure that your truck never
breaks down? You don't.
So it's very hard. You know what I mean? And so once it does break down, does the computer know, like, do I just stop? Like, how do I let my customers now know, like, this is not delivering when I said it was going to deliver? And, you said it's going to be cheaper because you don't have a driver. But I think the technology that you've now put in these trucks really outweighs having that person there.
In the short term, yes, it's more capital intensive. But in the long term, because everyone knows there's a massive truck driver shortage.
There is.
And I don't see that changing. Do you see that changing?
Not right now. Well, right now, our industry kind of flipped. So right now, there's a lot of truck availability.
Yeah.
There's not as much freight. So prices are going down and down and down.
Yeah.
More competition within your customer base.
Yeah.
Margins aren't as good.
Yeah.
But we I would say, I'm not going to say rode the gravy train for 2.5 years during COVID, but a lot of people did.
Yeah, you guys were making bank.
A lot of people took advantage of their customers during that time.
Can you give some examples of how outrageous the shipping costs were? For example, I heard on a container to go from point A to point B over the ocean was at 1.4 times more expensive than what it was in the past. Or
easy for you to, or easy for a lot of people. Today, China to BC, you'll pay just under maybe 2,000 USD per container, 40-foot container, or a 20-foot container. During COVID, it was about 25,000.
Oh my God!
And
it was 10x.
Yeah, so these shipping lines were recording quarterly numbers better than years of what they were bringing in. And during COVID, I gained a customer. Funny story is my brother-in-law's in real estate, and this customer is a wholesaler and manufacturer of furniture. And my brother-in-law's going to buy furniture for one of his buildings. He's speaking to the owner, and he's like, our shipping, it's just a disaster. We have containers stuck at ports. And when you have a container stuck in a port, it gets very excessive in daily costs. And so he's like, oh, my brother-in-law's in transport. You should talk to him. End up going to see him. And this poor customer, I went to work at their office for about 2.5 months with one of my employees to fix their issue. And it costed them about $2.5 to $3 million in fees.
Because it was stuck at the port.
Correct. So prior to COVID, these shipping lines would say, oh, okay, you're our customer. You need it to go to this destination. We'll bring it to your final destination for you. They'll offload the container, and then we'll take the container back. During COVID, because they were making so much money with these containers, they want to get their containers as quickly as possible to the port of BC. They weren't bringing it to customers. You arrange your own transport. Get your stuff out of my container. I want my container back. My customer had about 500 to 600 containers stuck at the port of BC. That all had to come to Montreal.
Oh, my God.
So not only... And, they're charging you, it's a daily thing. So like from 1 to 3 days after the allotted time given, it's 250 USD a day. Then from 4 to 6 days, it's 500. And it goes up to about $5,000 a day.
So the containers were stuck at the port.
Correct.
And this client couldn't arrange for a trucking company to come and snag it and take it?
So what they had to do is, because if you now take that container that's already late, put it on the rail, which is the cheaper option from BC to Montreal. Offload that container. That container now has to go back to BC.
Okay.
So the cheapest option for them was, okay, let's take this container. We're going to de-stuff everything out of the container in BC. We'll put the container back where it's supposed to be in BC. So it could be a 2 to 3 day turnaround. And we'll just put your goods on a rail car to Montreal. So that's what we did. And, thank God that this customer, have been in business for a long time and had the capital, because they were I had their credit card.
That could have bankrupted the company.
100%.
That would bankrupt most companies.
100%.
$2.5 million cash.
Cash.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. It's, it was scary. And what it goes to show you that I was spending more time at their office trying to fix their issue than their own employees. We'd be there first. We'd leave last. And you're like, and one time I just spoke to the owner. I was just like, I'm not understanding how, I'm here to help you. Obviously, we're going to make a bit of money, but your employees, like 5 o'clock, they're up, they're gone. They don't care. They don't care about that it's costing you millions of dollars, that your freight's not in Montreal where it's supposed to be, or in Toronto. And they have huge customers, Bro and Martineau, Sleep Country there, and it was a sad situation. Obviously it's rectified now, but you still feel the effects of everything that happened during COVID and these high prices. You still feel the effects of it today, because what he said is, you want to charge me $25,000 to get my couches from China to here? I don't care. The consumer ends up paying.
Yeah, I'm just going to pass it on to the consumer.
Exactly. Everything is passed down. And the people who pay are the consumers.
And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. I've talked about this before on the podcast and we've talked about this too. People think that, these corporations are just going to eat that cost. That's not how business works.
No, at all.
And go, pass a law where they have to, you're living in la land. That's not how this works.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to pass the cost onto the consumer. And so when policymakers and businesses, there's all this added regulation. Look, there needs to be a certain level of regulation. It can't be completely the wild west. But I mean, living in a place like Canada, I'm going over to Ottawa. Oh my God, the hoops I have to go through just to they just love to regulate everything. They love paperwork.
Which is
Canadians love regulation. We love it.
Yeah.
We fucking love it.
And it's not always, and it's never usually in the business owner's favor.
No. All right, let's go on this rant now.
Yeah, okay,
I'll talk about this
shit.
Dude, I get so frustrated, and people are just gonna look at, shut up, you're a business owner, you have money, or that's what a lot of people are gonna say. And there's a whole other people that are just trying to make it. It's like, guys, you don't understand. If there's no business conducting itself, or if Canada becomes a place where other businesses don't want to come here to invest, all these things that we like about Canada. So, for example, our welfare state, social services, free healthcare. How do you think, we have to pay for this somehow? And if there's no outside investment, if there's no tax revenue to help fund these services, this doesn't exist in Canada.
Right.
And there's a lot of people, I was watching this stuff the other day. There's a lot of companies that don't want to come to Canada, less and less. There's a lot of companies that don't want to come to Quebec specifically, less and less. But it's not just Quebec for the language stuff.
Right.
That is a part of it. Yeah. But Ontario too. It's not, there's a dark cloud over Canada right now.
There is.
And it's sad to see, because it's just like everywhere I go for insurance, I'll give you an example. Canada is basically, it's real estate. 50% of the GDP of Canada is either real estate itself or the construction of real estate. So I go to these think tanks with other insurance brokers, and what does everyone insure? Real estate and contractors.
Yeah.
That's literally the whole market. That's our market. There's nothing else here.
Right. It's, you saying that welfare, healthcare, it's tough because I feel like we pay so much in taxes, but nothing is that good.
No,
you know what I mean? And
agree.
so that's a frustrating part. I think having free healthcare for people is great. For people who want that. Welfare is definitely something that I do feel, if something is bad has happened in your life and you can't work and you're going down that path, I think.
But it's gone. The pendulum has swung to the other side. Correct. And there's a lot of people that completely just abuse it.
And that's the issue. And,
and politically, because you can't politically win by pulling back social services.
No, absolutely
You can't win an election.
You will not.
So it just gets, the population just wants more and more and more and more and more. Yeah. And it's just the reality of politics.
Right.
You're not going to win an election by promising to cut spending on social services. You're just not going to win.
No.
You're not going to win. So it's kind of like, I sympathize with, I don't trust any politician, but I sympathize with them on that. Like, right. What if, let's say you're in their shoes and you want to run for whatever, you're going to say, I'm going to cut spending by 50%. Like,
you're not going to win.
Well, but also too, the person who's living paycheck to paycheck and who needs that, I mean, they need that money. Right. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I think the biggest part starts from having a vibrant economy. If there's good jobs, there's less crime. If there's less crime, more businesses want to come. If there's more jobs, families are tighter. Like the family nucleus is stronger. There's people are less stressed about living paycheck to paycheck. And there's this other thing I heard the other day. There's a lot of immigrants coming to Canada. It's too expensive to live here. And they're like in Toronto, the average rent, I don't know if it's a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, but it's $3,000 a month. Yeah. So imagine you're coming here as an immigrant. Yep. It's $3,000 a month. You can't go see the doctor because it's like a 45-hour wait.
Yep.
You can't get a good job because you're overqualified
Right.
for all this stuff.
Yep.
If you're a doctor, they don't consider your previous experience to go actually
Right.
work in the medical
because
field.
you have to take it
Whatever
here,
it
right,
is
in Canada. Yeah.
And there's just all these hoops and red tape to go through, and it's becoming, government has gotten so big in terms of employment. Even and this isn't me, I got some slack on TikTok. You pay as much as the government. And this was, I'll say it now, because
Right.
even the CFO of the National Bank, one of the big banks in Canada,
yeah.
he's like, 55% of the new jobs created in Canada since the onset of COVID, so February 2020. I heard this other stat, it was 80, and I think it came from, I didn't know this, it came from a conservative think tank, so it did have that lens.
Right.
But this guy here who's pretty...
Yeah, well, he doesn't care, right?
Well, whether he's left or right,
Yeah.
a bank CEO or CFO, they're going to be very apolitical with that
For sure,
stuff. He
100%.
said 55%. But even 55% of the new jobs created in Canada since February 2020 are government. Government jobs are not efficient for the economy.
No.
They suck out resources.
100%.
They don't add anything. So if
They
you want to
don't.
have this big state and everyone works for the government, I mean, say bye to all these social services. People don't understand this, and then they just go tax the rich. If you want to tax the rich, well, there's not going to be very many rich people because they're going to leave.
Exactly.
So,
same kind of concept what happens, or what we see happening from people living in California going to Texas. You know?
Yeah.
It's, at a certain point, I think when you do get to a certain level in your life and you have enough money and you want to give back, like we've spoken about it. Just my view is, obviously, you want everybody to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. Not everybody's going to be happy with decisions people make. But fiscally, and, as having a business and running a business, with the money I make, let me take my money, let me spend it. Don't tax me as much. And the reason being is just that I'm going to spend my money how I'm going to spend my money. You're taking my money and doing what with it? Yeah, you say you're going to do this, you say you're going to do that, and that's going back to what you said. You don't trust politicians.
No.
They're the most corrupt people on our planet. It's
like politicians.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'd say probably bankers.
Okay, yeah,
they're pretty high up there, too.
Yeah, so it's just like, and fiscally, I lean more to that side. Obviously, I think let people work, let people make money, let people keep their money, let people spend their money, because when you're making money, you're gonna spend it somewhere.
Yes.
Not everybody, you make $1,000 a week. Just say you're not saving $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
You're going to take that money, you're going to spend it, and you're going to put it into the economy.
Yep.
And like what you're saying, it's going to help.
Yeah.
But by you taking, if I'm trying to make $1,000 a week and you're taking $500 or $540 of my money, our services aren't good enough for you to say.
Don't forget all the costs, but we're just mentioning the personal income tax.
Right, exactly.
As a business owner, there's the payroll tax we have to
100%.
pay. There's all this regulation.
Yep.
At least for your industry, it's regulate. I'm probably not like mine. I have I'm a financial services, so it's like pretty highly regulated.
Right.
But we have to pay the regulatory costs. I mean, you need an employee just to deal with the regulatory bodies. Yeah. We have 5 of them. Dude, it's insane. And these people, because compliance has become an industry itself,
It really has.
And there's it sucks out innovation and productivity out of other industries. Really does. And people need to realize this. And it gets frustrating. And people just go look at the US, they're more capitalist, and look at the gap between the rich and the poor. Okay, is the gap between the rich and poor in Canada as bad as the US? No, it's not. But it's gotten way worse. Last time I checked, we're pretty socialist. So
we are.
The policies that they're are implementing are not working. It's like I just get, and you're the guy here.
Yeah.
I probably need a handler right now because I'm gonna go off the rails and stuff. But no, dude, it's getting ridiculous. Like there's no new. It's a zero sum game for me in insurance. There's no new business really that comes here. It's all the people competing for clients.
Yeah.
It's a zero sum game. So if I gain a client here, someone else loses it. There's no new business
coming
here.
Right.
Because like, why the hell would you? I'd rather go to Florida. I'd rather go to Texas. I'd rather go to and they're winning. That's why they're winning.
They are. And you know what? A lot of people, I would say, you know, obviously those, I would say, glamorous states, the Florida, the Texas, the not California, but you know, but Midwest. I mean, when you know, I have cousins who live in the U.S. who live in Chicago, and you know, they make fun of us here, and you know, they call it socialist Canada, and
dude, it's really it's
tough
because it is.
Yeah, it's you know,
it is.
Look, I think you know, a lot of people are fortunate here. I think, you know, kind of where we grew up, I think the people we know were more fortunate, and you know, we don't really know what people go through on a day-to-day basis, but
no.
You know, like you said, the more that government gets involved in your day-to-day life, the harder your life is going to be. And you know, I think
it's the nanny state.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that look, I'm not saying get rid of all social services.
No,
that's not what we're saying. But you need to have and there's always different opinions for this. I mean, if you go speak to a social science teacher, an urban planning teacher from university, they're going to say, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm the expert. But for us over here, it's like, in order to have, if you want to have a nice place to live, you need to have a healthy economy.
Yeah. Always.
I mean, yeah.
Always.
And I'll give you an example. Detroit. When manufacturing left Detroit for all the car manufacturing, what happened? That city fell apart. Yeah. That was a great city till we weren't alive, but that was like the city back in the 1950s. That was the city, the place to be.
Crazy that you say Detroit. So my father's from Detroit, born in 55.
Yeah.
And
wait, your father?
Yeah.
Your dad's from Detroit?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. And he said growing up with all the manufacturing they had there, it was just a great city. And
everyone was working.
Everybody was working. There was money.
You had a job. You could afford to live. It was.
Yeah. And then today, so his parents are buried in Detroit. And when he goes back just to visit his parents, like, you need to carry a gun on you.
Wow.
Now, yeah, it's just like, you know, but what I would say about Detroit is it's kind of starting to make a little comeback from, you know, obviously what it has become. But like you said, you know, when economies are good in cities, especially big cities, I mean, in any city, really, I mean, it's just better for the people, less crime, less, you know, people are happier. And, you know, I think, you know, money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
I think, but, you know, money makes the world go around too.
Yeah. And if you look at I read this morning, I was shocked to read this from one of the Financial Post, anyway, a Canadian news company.
Okay.
It said the unemployment rate for Anglophones is pretty high for Francophone in Quebec.
Okay.
For Anglophones, it was 10%.
That's high.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. And even for the Quebec, the Francophone population, it was 6%. 6%
really?
Unemployment
is high.
And these are massage numbers.
Right, for sure.
Because they always they keep changing the definitions and stuff like that.
Of employment, right?
Of employment, of GDP, of jobs numbers. And then what you'll notice, I listened to this podcast yesterday, KBD podcast, and the guy said, go look at the last 20 jobs numbers, the non-farm payroll, what's it called? Anyways, the jobs numbers out of the U.S.
Yeah.
Every time they come out with a jobs number, they always revise down the previous estimate.
Oh, really?
So yes. He's like 9 times out of 10. So he said all these numbers that are, the gist of the story was not these numbers are a crock of shit, but they're very massaged.
Right. So it's probably higher and worse than what they're showing.
In other words, unemployment rate is a lot higher.
Yeah.
CPI is a lot higher.
Yeah.
I mean, inflation right now, when you're telling me that it's only, what was the most recent number in Canada? 5.2? Let's just say 5%.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that in the grocery store.
You know what? And just getting on that, and, you know, you were telling me before, we have a lot of young employees. And so kind of a battle what you go through is, you have your employees coming up to you and being like, things are expensive, groceries. I actually had a conversation with one of my employees yesterday saying, I used to go with $300 to a grocery store, but I'd have a lot of food, and now I'm going with $300 and it's like, I can't get a lot. And, when you were touching on real estate, it's hard because I don't see easy way of these people or the younger generation being able to buy real estate.
They won't.
The question that they ask me a lot is like, how am I going to buy a house? And it's sad.
Yeah,
it is.
Unless their parents give them money.
Correct.
There's no one that's working hard, making money, and actually saving for a house. You'll get the odd dual income if husband, wife,
Sure.
boyfriend, girlfriend. If they're very financially disciplined.
Right.
If you have a nice car and you're going out for dinners, and unless you have a dual income of $150K plus.
It's tough, man.
Even at that, you can't have kids. You imagine having 2 kids with a dual income of $150K, buying a house in the West Island. It's not happening.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. No,
you can't do it. And like you said, you're gonna, if your parents don't have it, it's gonna be tough for them to be able to purchase homes and kind of grow up the way we did.
Yeah.
And it sucks because things have gone up so rapidly. But what's always, gone up but stayed the same is salaries, It's hard to justify paying someone so much more for the job that, some of them do. And that's why, I feel bad. You look at them and you look at this situation and, like, what's going on, and you feel bad for, what are you going to do? Are you just going to rent a place the rest of your life?
I feel the same way.
So
I feel the same way.
It's tough. It's
and even myself, like, look, I'm the president of the company.
Yeah.
I live in an 800 square foot condo.
Yeah.
I don't live in this big luxurious penthouse, that a lot of people, people that don't know who I am, they're going to see me and go, you rich, you don't want to pay taxes, screw you. It's like, dude, I'm not living in the high luxury life. I live a great life, don't get me wrong.
Right.
And I'm very happy with my life.
Right.
But yeah, it's not.
That's something you just said, that you're happy with your life. I think if everybody was happy and stopped looking at what other people do and what other people have, I think as a society we'd be much better off.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that's a whole other can of worms. Yeah.
And we've hit on kind of different things, and you're talking about tech, and people are on their phones, on Instagram, on TikTok, and you see what people have. And
do you have social media?
So I have Instagram.
How does it make you feel?
I look at the same, like, 3-4 things that I enjoy. Like, so
I
don't
sports, girls.
No.
But like in your feed, I'm not saying you look, but like in your feed, I feel like every dude, there's girls.
Yeah, I mean, look, but like I like cars. I like to learn about watches.
Okay.
So like I look at sports, cars, watches. Homes.
I like the homes one.
Yeah, I like homes, and so like these are things that I focus. Like, I don't care about a 20-year-old kid who drives a Ferrari. Like, for me, that doesn't it doesn't make me like, it doesn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm happy, like you said, I'm happy with my life. Obviously, I want more in my life, but I'm not relying on somebody to give that to me. I'm going to go and try and get it. You know what I mean? And I think that's a mentality of this younger generation coming up and coming in, is like, you've worked here for 2 months, but you want a 20% raise. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I would never even have the courage or, the balls to go up to my boss after 2 months of working somewhere and be like, hey, I need a raise. Like, what?
I think the disconnect, though, and I'll give some credit to them. I think the disconnect where this is coming from is the fact that life is so expensive for them. And I think they're probably looking at it going, dude, I can't do this. I can't do that. Right. I can't afford this. I can't afford that. I think that's part of it.
Yeah. It very well could be. I mean,
they're just coming up going like, bro, like, let's say someone who's making $60,000 and they're living downtown and they have a car to pay for.
Tough.
You're paycheck to paycheck, bro.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Like,
and you're not going out for dinners.
No,
you're not doing. But that's what I'm saying. So coming back to that, if you're that person and you're making $60,000 and you're living downtown and you have a car and you're living in paycheck to paycheck, if you were allowed to keep a lot more money.
Oh, baby, here we go.
Wouldn't you be better off as a person? Because now that you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's tough. I'll give you an extra on your 60 grand. I don't know what it could be.
Yeah.
But if I could give you an extra $600 a pay, man, it adds up.
Yeah.
It adds up. And it allows you a bit more freedom. It allows you to kind of compress when you get home.
Save money.
Save
not
money.
Stressed.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are, like you said, living paycheck to paycheck, and it's tough. And it's tough to sit there.
They just automatically, the mindset here, it's very prominent, is tax rich. They don't pay enough. They don't pay enough. But it's like, guys, okay, you want to do that? Go right ahead. See what happens. See what happens.
What happens when those businesses leave? And
but we're so highly taxed already. This is where we see eye to eye.
Right.
We're already taxed enough, and you hit a certain threshold, you can't tax more because the companies and the people who produce this productivity are going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else where it's not like that.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening in Canada. Like Canada right now, the GDP, as massaged as the numbers are, it's not good. And we've been declining in terms of productivity for years now. And,
I think I was reading, I think California and Texas have a bigger GDP than the entire country of Canada.
I believe it for sure.
Texas for sure and California for sure. I don't know if there's other states, but
California's GDP though, take out the tech. Well, it's like it's tough to say that because it's tech. It's a big part of it. But outside of the tech, from what I'm talking on my ass. I'm not gonna say that.
just in case. In case somebody fact checks this.
Yeah. But no, I agree. There was this crazy thing. I mentioned this on the podcast I had with Anthony Picardi and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He said, because they built the Gigafactory to build all the Teslas in Austin.
Texas.
So in Texas. He said the amount of time it took us to actually build the factory, I think it was 2 years. Yeah. He said it would have taken more than 2 years just to go through the permit process in California. I would not even have been able to put a shovel in the ground. Yep. And in the same time frame, I was able to build the whole factory over in Texas. So it's like, again, I'll just come back to the same thing. I'm not saying we don't need regulation and this and that, but what's happening right now, the quality of living, the standard of living in the past 20 years in Canada has gone down.
Yep.
It's gone down significantly. A lot of other places it has as well. I'm not saying throw everything out and screw socialism. That's not what I'm saying. But if you get rid of businesses, there's no tax revenue to collect and to pay for all these social services.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the point we're just trying to make here. So there needs to be a balance. And if the balance right now is just basically tax the rich even more, guys, you want to do that? Go right ahead and let's see what happens.
And I feel like you have close friends who disagree with you on that.
But as soon as you push them on like actual facts, a lot of times, because they just point to the examples that they use, they'll just point to like big multinational corporations, which are greasy. Okay, they do stuff. They'll point to them. But here's the other thing. So all these taxes that you and I pay for companies that are like 30 or 40 or 50 employees, 100 employees, we have to pay everything.
Right.
You get to the bigger companies and stuff, the Bombardiers, dude, they get tax breaks. They get, this is all government grants. A lot of times there is this company, I won't name the name of the company, but I was working with a headhunter and he was giving publicly traded company. He was giving these guys a lot of employees, like 80 employees a year, big company. And I go, what's the average salary? He goes, it's about this and blah, 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 blah. Goes, they're all contractors. So for those of you that don't know, there's contractors if you go work at a company, or you can be an employee. A contractor, the employer, your boss, doesn't need to pay the payroll tax. That's roughly like 15%. So example, you're making $100,000. The employer needs to pay $15,000 a year in payroll tax. So it's your salary plus the payroll tax.
Right.
And this company, dude, like half their staff, they got away with having them as contractors. That's millions and millions and millions of dollars in savings per year. But the government, when they get to that size, like the rules aren't fair. So
correct.
It's.
Well, I mean, just specifically on Bombardier, I mean, how many times since we've been alive have our government bailed out Bombardier?
They need to let that thing go bankrupt.
So it's just like,
well, because it's taxpayer dollars, and then the leadership of the company takes a bonus. I mean, and then basically you have people calling for politicians to put like tax people or tax companies tax the rich more. What ends up happening, the establishment don't get taxed.
Correct.
People like you and me get the short end of the stick, and it
Yep.
stifles innovation, and there's no new the small and medium-sized businesses are the engine that drives an economy
Yep.
and that produce most of the jobs.
Yep.
If you stop us and put regulations in where we can't create new businesses, that is not good for society at all.
I agree with you, man. I agree wholeheartedly. And, we always talk about it. I feel you and I, and, nothing has changed. I feel like it gets worse.
It's gotten worse.
And,
If you ask anyone in Canada right now, they'll agree. The economy
for sure.
and things have gotten worse. Since COVID, like...
It hasn't been great.
No, has not.
It has not been great.
Nope.
And, again, when you're talking about, how many people we have or have not working in our society. I mean, during COVID and right after COVID, I mean, it was so hard to find employees. And one thing is, that first question that they ask is, hey, can I work from home? It's just like, I don't, the mentality that you gave for people for those 2 years when COVID was a thing, has really kind of like extended even to now, people that we interview, if it's their first question, like for our industry, you know you're getting and it's not the right fit.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about this as well. Like for my industry, I need people in the office.
Mm-hmm.
You can't work from home. And
Because you're a boots on the ground kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's a fast-paced industry, and we like having our team in the office, and it builds a lot of things being together in the office.
I agree.
One
guy put it pretty well. He said you can operate a company remotely. He didn't say grow. You can operate a company remotely, but he goes, you can't build a culture remotely. And I agree with him 100%.
So do I. And, even just getting back to it, even today, when you're interviewing people and they're saying, what's the work from home policy? And it was like, there is no policy. It's you come into the office every day. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and I saw something Elon Musk said, and these big companies getting back to, no, everybody's coming in.
Yep.
And, it's finally, it's kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel, because when those, the Apples, the Teslas, all these companies, when they're saying, okay, work from home, everybody thinks you're Apple, you're Tesla, and it's nice to see kind of, okay, let's kind of go back to being productive and being together, and and again, it builds something in your team that you can't build otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. And Elon Musk brought up a really good point, and he said the work from home issue, there was something that morally bothered him, and the guy goes, morally, what are you talking about? He goes, well, he was at the Tesla factory. He goes, well, Look at the factory. Goes, you have all these people in here. You can't work from home if you're building cars.
Correct.
Obviously, you have to be in the office. So he goes, is it fair that all these guys are going to be in the office, in the factory, coming in every day, and then the other half were on their laptops all day that aren't the manual laborers, that they can work from home? He goes, that's not fair. He goes, there's something wrong with that. That doesn't seem fair to me. Yeah. And so I get his point, but again, I'm like a hybrid kind of guy.
Okay.
And then, but even sometimes too, we're in a pickle. We had to hire some people. They straight up said, I am 100% working from home. I'll come in like once a month, no problem.
It just doesn't work, man. You can't.
But I will say this before I get in trouble. I don't want that to get clipped. They're actually really good at their job.
Okay.
They're really good at job, but this is where it's a little bit different. I think because if you want to have the core, I sound like a broken record because I always say this. The engine of the company, the core employees of the company that drive the company, 100% they need to be in the office almost all the time. Yeah. If you have people that are kind of just the day-to-day tasks that are perhaps a little bit more repetitive, I think you can get away with having them
work at home.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing your industry, you're my insurance provider.
Yes, sir. I'm your broker, baby.
Yeah. So my only thing is, when you guys need answers, is it something that's like very urgent? Because like, again, like what I'm trying to get to is like, so my business is so transactional, and when we need an answer, usually it's because something's going wrong. Mm-hmm. So for that person to be at home, and you know what? Look, I think people could work from home, but you can't tell me that you're not doing other things than working.
Of course. Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to call you, or somebody from the office is trying to call you,
and you're not picking up,
and you're not picking up,
yeah.
Like, there's this fire inside of me that I can't explain to you. It just drives me crazy.
I couldn't.
And you know, even when I'm on the road, and you know, salespeople are on the road, and you're trying to get an answer from the office, and they're not answering. Like, there's something, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like something inside of me. Like, I just need people to pick up their phone and not. Again, working from home.
Let's actually dive down into this.
Okay,
and I know what you're saying, and let's actually say the part that we're thinking.
Yeah,
it's a natural skepticism, and I think you're the same way.
Yeah.
And I try and work on it. I really do, but I'm going to be more honest than I probably should. We think, as an employer, you're fucking around. And you know what? There's evidence, because a lot of times they are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so say, hey, if I'm calling you like 3 p.m. on a Friday,
and you're not,
and you don't call me back till 4, I'm not fucking stupid. Like, I know you weren't working.
But wait 1 second. How good are the excuses that they get? Hey, what were you doing? Oh, no, I just my phone, it was on silent.
Yeah.
Weird. Weird. It's never on silent. You know, it's just.
I was answering emails. Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, look. Again, you know, fucking around or doing whatever you may be doing. Look, you could have a family and your kids are at home, but you're just not being as proactive as you possibly could be.
Yep.
And again, just because our business is very transactional and you need answers right away, for me, it's a comfort thing as well, that you need to be in the office. And look, we might have liked people in the past, but who didn't want to come into the office. But it doesn't work. You know, it doesn't work.
We'll see in the long run, the companies that have this work from home policy, 100% remote. I think that's ludicrous, but anyways.
Yeah.
We'll see where they're at in 10 years, and we'll see where the people who are actually driving the economy, we'll see where they're at in 10 years. The people that agree. Have the employees in the office. And if I had to wager a bet.
Yeah. Do you know any companies that are actually 100% remote right now?
I know small companies, like any big corporation companies. I don't know of any.
Right, no.
It's basically all the you get all the people with. I'm not going to say that. But the
cut.
There's a profile of people that complain about the fact that need to go into the office. There's a very specific profile to that type of person. But most companies, I mean, he said it on the podcast live, Harvest, they're still 100% remote.
Okay.
I told him, I said, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's his company, not mine.
Right.
So,
and, you know.
And we still use them.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm guessing, like, you're using them because their service hasn't declined, obviously.
It has not. No, it hasn't.
Exactly.
It hasn't.
So, you know.
But also, too, there's something to say. Like, Brandon, he's been very clear with this. He doesn't want to. He's very good at his job, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to be this big multinational marketing agency.
Correct.
He's just very comfortable with this. I got, I think it's 10, 15 employees.
Which is good, though, man.
I'm good with this, yeah.
And you know what?
Each their own.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, it's good to have those people, too.
Yes.
It really, really is. And, we know a lot of entrepreneurs, and, you know, some people that I do know, you know, they have 3-4 employees and they're happy. And you have some people who have 10 or 20, but they want to have 150, 200. And, you know, so it's good. You need a mix of everything, because it gives you kind of like a perfect balance at the end. You know what I mean? So
how many employees do you want?
Honest. So my biggest frustration, maybe frustration today, is employees. I never thought that the most or the most difficult portion of the business would be employees. And that's exactly what it is. So, yeah, I want to grow. I would love one day to say, hey, we do $1 billion in sales, or we do 250, or even like 100 million, or whatever the case may be. But with that many employees, it takes a lot of patience because every employee is different. You need to try and get the best out of your employees every day. And so, obviously, I'm going to go until I can't take it anymore.
I have this really interesting quote that my dad sent to me. It's a Warren Buffett quote.
Yeah.
Here, let me go find it for you. Buffett on hiring great people.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops, I'm going to go off here. Okay, let's try this.
What's he say?
I got to connect to the Wi-Fi. Damn it. Okay, hold on.
Because him and Mr. Is Charlie Munger on his way out now?
Dude, that guy's like 96.
I know.
It's insane.
I know. But so knowledgeable.
I love watching them too.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to read this. It's literally a minute. Stop, text. See, I turn on. I always put on airplane mode, and then out there, and it's just like text, email. What are you doing? Are you interested? This is a question. I'm like, fuck off for 2 seconds. Okay. Put together. Let's start here. Where team effectiveness is concerned, the impact ratio is roughly 90% team to a 10% leader. In other words, a great team with a mediocre leader nearly always outperforms a mediocre team with a great leader. Let me say that again. A great team with a mediocre leader nearly always outperforms a mediocre team with a great leader. So and this goes without saying, it's much easier said than done, but all the best companies, typically speaking, from my analysis of these types of companies, the CEO or the founder of the company, they're just fucking good at recruiting people and putting people in the right places.
That's it.
They're fucking good at that. They're incredible at it.
They have the best people in those possibly that they could have for those positions.
Yes, and they're usually quite charismatic. Yeah. It's like I really look up to BFL Canada. They're this guy Barry Lorenzetti, boss.
Very good friends with my father-in-law.
Really didn't know that. Yeah. Very charismatic. He's just like you look at him like, fuck, this guy's cool, man. Yeah. And what he built is nothing short of amazing. He's the biggest commercial insurance broker in Canada.
Okay, so this is just a quick question before you continue. Would that be somebody that you guys compete with on a day-to-day basis?
They are, in reality, yes.
Okay.
But they're dealing with companies that are a lot bigger than what we can deal with.
Okay, got it.
So, but that guy there, from my analysis of him, was he good at commercial insurance? Of course. Like, could he sell a policy? Like, I'm sure he was good at all that. What he was really good at was building a team of getting guys that can put the puck in the net. And it's just a matter of getting deals that they are motivated to work by. So whether that's giving them equity position in the company, whether that's giving them phantom share, whatever it is. Right. But he was just really fucking good at getting a core nucleus of guys and girls that could basically build the company, and it worked. Yeah. And it's just a matter of like finding that and getting people to buy into to drink the Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid, as they like to say.
Yeah, and feel as if not feel, to actually be part of building something.
Yeah. And I think as you make your employees or these like high level people feel part of, it's not just a job, it's like your business as well. I think, it makes all the difference because, we both said it. It's very hard to just run a business one person. You can't do it. There's too many moving parts. Yeah. And like you said, man, there's been people like Barry, I guess, you know a lot more about his business than me, but you have the right people around you, and
just see what happens. If you have really kick-ass employees and kick-ass leadership, I mean, your company is going to do really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you should pay them and remunerate them properly
accordingly.
As well. Accordingly. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good place to leave it off. Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
Is your phone's ringing? Your brother's calling? I know we got golf. I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
No, but honest to God, this was really enjoyable. It's, you could get a lot of things off your shoulders that you want to
Cool.
say. And
Let me know if you wanna
I'd be
come
happy to come back anytime,
Let me
actually.
know. Let
And
me
it's
know.
not far.
Yeah.
It's not far.
So this is thank you so much, everyone, if you were listening. And Justin Housey, Allied Trucking. If you need any,
Transport,
yeah,
over the road transport, whatever you need, let us help you.
yeah. If you're a business looking to, transport meat, fruits, whatever the hell it is,
Whatever it is.
give this guy a
Yeah.
call. I'm Curtis Killen, president at KBD Insurance. So if you need home car business insurance, check us out. And that's pretty much it.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, bro.
I appreciate it.
Ciao.
Bye.